Well, welcome everybody. This will be a presentation on factoring. So my name is Michael Kilborn. I am the president and owner of Fuel Access Network. And the second tier to our business model, first tier being the fuel cards themselves, and the second tier being factoring. What we're going to do in this presentation is do a pretty good review and as plain English as we can do it. It'll be a little bit of a deep dive into what is factoring and how does it become kind of our second tier, our second product offering to what we do. So obviously we work in the transportation sector, so the factoring is designed specifically into the factoring sector. So what is factoring? Factoring is a very simple way of providing cash management to owner-operators, small fleets. So just a way of kind of thinking through it. Anytime a new trucking company gets to haul a load, okay, maybe that invoice is $2,000 or $3,000. Well, when they deliver that load, okay, they're going to have to produce proof of delivery, and then they can send an invoice for delivering that freight. Well, most brokers and shippers that give them that freight to haul are going to tell them to wait 30, 45, sometimes even 60 days to get paid. It's a very difficult way for small business to have good cash flow. So factoring, and we're just going to walk through it here real quick. So on the right, we have a diagram where it's a truck. A load is delivered by a carrier or our customer. Bills of lading are dated and signed. Rate was confirmed, and an invoice is completed an assignment. Okay. So in other words, what I just went through is the truck driver picked up the freight, he delivered it, he got signed bills of lading or proof of delivery. And when he has signed proof of delivery, the product was delivered safely and in good condition, no problems. And then that driver would prepare an invoice. Well, in factoring, he can take that invoice and I'll go through it in a little bit here, take a picture, scan it, get it to our partner, Wex Bank, and they can fund up to 95% of that invoice basically next day. That's a gigantic cash advantage. So every time that this small company works, they can simply take their bills of lading, produce a quick invoice, which can be done on a phone, a tablet, or a computer, send it to the bank, and the money will be in their account the next day. So on the left side, let's just run through it. Carrier agrees to haul a load for a shipper or broker. So they've agreed on a load, where it goes, and the rate. That carrier, our customer, is going to go pick up that load, okay? And then they go deliver the load. Carrier receives signed paperwork upon delivery of the load. That's the bills of lading or proof of delivery. Then our customer will sell invoice paperwork to Wex Bank. It's a nice way of saying Wex Bank takes over the accounts payable for our customer. So they do it for them. Wex confirms the paperwork, they confirm the invoice, and advance the payment to the carrier same day, depending, and I preface that by saying depending on the time of day the load was delivered. You'll hear me a lot say next day. It can be done same day, but typically I'll refer to it as payment comes in next day. Wex sends a formal invoice to the shipper or the broker to collect payment on the load that they advance payment on, and Wex will now wait 30 days for that payment. So our customer didn't have to wait 30 days, but because of their relationship with our assistants, with Wex Bank, they now have the ability to simply take their bills of lading along with their invoice, send it to Wex Bank. Wex will approve that invoice and then pay them next business day, up to 95% of that invoice in advance. That's a monster advantage for our customer. That is, in its sense, what the term factoring, or we use terms like cash management, that's what factoring is for the transportation industry. And in this presentation, we're going to walk through this concept a little bit further. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into it and how offering something as simple as factoring can be a great advantage to our customers and how it can assist them in making sure they're managing their business, maximizing their profits at the same time. So who is WEX? Obviously, from our other trainings, you already know EFS and WEX have been names I've mentioned. EFS is owned by WEX Bank. WEX is a bank and they are FDIC insured. And as we all know, banks are in the business of lending money. That's how they make money. Factoring is just another form of lending. Comes with a slightly different name and it is a little different methodology, but essentially WEX is simply lending money based on a relationship with our customer. They are charging our customer a small fee, typically 2, 3, 4% of that total invoice. Okay, so using simple numbers, if the invoice was for $1,000, in order for our customer to get 95% of that invoice sent to them next business day, WEX will typically charge a rate of 2, 3, 4%, and that is relatively depending on the credit of the broker and or of our customer. So there are a few factors that determine what the actual cost of that invoice will be. We'll cover that a little bit more in just a bit. But WEX is a bank. They're in the business of lending money. That's how they make money. So we're really assisting the bank, if you will, in this case, WEX Bank, in growing their business base by referring our customers to them to A, help our customers keep their cash flow in good standings, and B, help the bank move forward with their business goals, which is lending money to good credit risks. Okay, now let's talk about the two types of factoring that there are. Factoring it really does mean opportunity. Okay, it allows our customers the freedom to have the cash flow that they need to operate their business. So the two types of factoring are called recourse factoring and non-recourse factoring. So I'm going to focus a lot on non-recourse factoring because in many cases, this is truly where our customers want to be. But I will explain the difference. So non-recourse factoring means, and I'll use myself as the example, I'm the trucker. I'm the one hauling the loads and delivering the freight and sending those invoices up to WEX Bank. And once they have it, I get my advance payment next business day. I'm a happy guy, okay? Now, I don't want to go sit in an office, or I don't have time to go sit in an office and start calling people that didn't pay those invoices to WEX Bank. Because you got to think about it. Being an owner-operator and a business owner, you've got to track down invoicing payments along with the other business structures. What non-recourse factoring is doing is I'm essentially saying to WEX Bank, you're my accounts receivable department now. And for that, I'm going to pay them a small fee. That's that 2, 3, 4%. And now WEX Bank will go out and they can give me all my advance payments. They do it for that percentage fee. Okay. They do the actual invoice creation now to the broker. I don't do that. I just sent an invoice to WEX Bank showing them here was the load, here's delivery. This was my agreed upon rate, call it $1,000. Then WEX Bank forwards me next day my payment on that. Then WEX Bank will turn around and they'll create an invoice and send it off, but they're the ones that wait the 30 days. So it's same day funding or next day, 24-hour account setup for me makes it super easy. Of course, the fuel cards are in there. We've already talked about that. There's fuel discounts nationwide, all built in within this whole network. They do have a free credit check. So if I'm going to pick a load up for a broker that I've never worked for, because I work with WEX Bank, they give me the access that I can pick up a phone and say, hey, is Mr. ABC shipper a good credit risk? Do they pay their bills? They'll tell me if that's a good person to work for or if it's going to be somebody who doesn't like to pay their bills. Because course, I want to work with good partners, good shippers that give me good freight and pay their bills on time, just like I do. Okay. Wex Bank assumes the credit risk. Here's the big one of my customers. So, in other words, in a non recourse factoring position, one of the biggest differences is when I send an invoice over to Wex Bank, and let's just say that $1,000 invoice didn't get paid to Wex Bank within 30, 60, 90, 120 days. There is no effect to me at all. Wex Bank doesn't come back to me and say, hey, we never got paid. You owe us a bunch of money. Or, hey, there's a problem. They don't do that. Wex Bank assumes all responsibility and control. My partnership with Wex Bank is that percentage fee. So I don't take the risk, in other words, that I didn't get paid. There's no risk to me. So non-recourse factoring is very attractive to truckers because it allows them to outsource their accounts payable, mitigates their risk, and they can manage a small fee for doing that and build that into their business model. So even though they are paying a fee, that fee really becomes, in my view, just a business expense, like many other expenses we have. So non-recourse removes the risk from me if somebody doesn't pay. Recourse factoring is really going to be many of the same things that we just went over. So in the list, you're going to see a lot of the same things. The difference is the recourse could come back to me. So I might make a little cheaper invoice. It might be a little bit, instead of being 2, 3, or 4%, I might only have to pay 1, 2, or 3% now. But the flip side is, if a shipper didn't pay, I can now be included into that problem. I may have to start picking up the phone and trying to get us paid. I may have to pay a small penalty back to the bank because that invoice was never paid. So, difference between recourse and non-recourse factoring, not huge differences, but the differences make a big deal. It is my typical recommendation to owner-operators of small fleets is just to use non-recourse, because then they can manage their budgets much easier and they don't have something come out of the blue that they didn't expect where the bank says, hey, somebody didn't pay us. Now we need to talk about this. These are unforeseen things that nobody wants to deal with. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper here for a moment into non-recourse factoring. This, again, is really the side of factoring that I like the best. And we're just going to touch on why. And as you're thinking about this when you work with your customers, I think you'll probably agree with me that this tends to make more sense in most cases. So simple, very easy thing to do. Okay, so our customers can set up accounts very easily. It's a simple application. You know, it might take a day or two to get everything all set up and rolling. Wex Bank has an amazing set of account reps that will help our customers get this all set up. And of course, because you're working with Fuel Access Network, all of these new accounts, once set up and approved, can trail back to you in the forms of a commissionable income. It's quick. Haul the load, email it in, and you basically get paid next business day. You know, some depending on the time the load was delivered during the day, you may even get it same day. Typically, it's going to be next day. Business days is what I encourage that we all understand. Typically, transferring money electronically through wire and things like this aren't always successful on Sundays or Saturdays, so we do keep that in mind. Wex Bank, since they're taking over our accounts receivable, they treat us and our customers with respect. This is a key function because they are helping represent our customers. They're sending out the invoices, they're communicating with our customers, which is good, and they're helping keep a high level of standard. This is what they do every single day. Accounts receivable is their business, okay? Our business is transportation. Our customers is moving freight from A to B. It doesn't make them a bookkeeper or a lawyer, but partnering up with Wex Bank does make their accounts receivable a very high level professional position to aid that representation of our customer. It's affordable, 100% affordable. And because we're working directly with the bank, this is a key function. Because WEX is a bank, it's FDIC insured, it is the lending source itself. We're not working with an intermediary. We're not working with a broker. We're not working with, Joe Schmo's independent lending company who has higher fees, longer terms, slower payment terms. On and on it goes. We're working directly with an FDIC insured bank. It is some of the best and most affordable rates that you can get in the factoring sector. So, huge advantage when we basically bring our customers right to the source. Wex Fleet Factoring has no hidden fees. They don't hide anything. Everything is on the table. It's all in the paperwork when our customers fill out the application. They understand all of the fees up front. We don't hide anything. And then peace of mind. We protect our customers from loss. Having that no recourse factoring gives our customers a gigantic peace of mind that they're not going to get, stuck from a shipper, or somebody didn't pay them, or they slow paid them, and now they're scrambling trying to figure out, how are they going to buy fuel? How do they pay for that? They're short on cash. This will help them in their cash position, keep them in a positive way, and it's something they can plan on and bank on and count on. Very important. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about those shippers, okay? The folks that are giving us or our customers those loads. We call them shippers or brokers. They can be called freight forwarders, but basically they're the ones that are providing us all the work. For obvious reasons, WEX Bank, who's assuming the responsibility, based on the last slide in our conversation, you understand WEX is now assuming the responsibility of those invoices and those payments. So they obviously want to protect the bank and their interests because they've assumed that liability that these shippers will pay them. And how they do that it's actually very simple, okay? It's underwriting. We've all heard that term. And what they have is internally they have a massive system that knows almost every single shipper out there in the United States. They have record of almost everybody. And when new shippers pop up, they hit the radar pretty quickly, and WEX is able to evaluate them, get a credit score on them, and understand if they're a good or bad payer. If the shipper is a company, use a window manufacturer as an example, same thing. They've been shipping loads of windows for years. So their history is out there. WEX Bank can simply look up their credit score and evaluate if they are a good shipper. In other words, they pay their bills, or they're a bad shipper and they either slow pay, no pay, or they're a bad payer in general. So when we talk to our customer and they say, well, how do I know if an invoice that I turn in, they're going to take it and they'll pay it? So it's really simple. When our customers come on board, one of the first things that they'll be asked is, who do you haul freight for? What brokers, what carriers, what companies? Give us a list. Tell us who you work with. That's pretty easy to do because they know that answer already. And right away, WEX Bank will run that through and say, all right, everybody is approved. You're good. We know all these people. They all pay their bills. If there was one that was a bad payer or a no payer, had a terrible credit score, just bad all around, well, that's easy. They're going to go back to our customer and say, everything looks good with the exception of this one broker. We find that he's just got bad credit. We just can't take the risk. So as the truck driver, he'll just simply say, okay, I just won't haul for him anymore. I'll haul for all the other guys. And what happens is we slowly bring our customer into the best position to always ensure he's hauling for the best brokers and carriers. So, must perform due diligence on each client. So let's say our customer just got a call from a broker and said, hey, I know you're in Florida. Hey, could you grab this freight? It's going to South Carolina and it pays $1,000 and that's a great rate. All our customer would do is just pick up the phone and call the 24-hour verification and say, hey, this broker wants to give me freight. I really want to take it. Is he going to be approved? And very quickly, they'll turn around and say, yep, he's approved, good to go. Go ahead and take the freight. He's got a thumbs up. He already knows that this is a good carrier. Or he may find out the opposite, that maybe he was offering a good rate, trying to sweeten the pot, trying to get the guy to take it, knowing that there may be a problem getting payment down the road. So underwriting starts with making sure we do good due diligence and making sure that we understand that our customer is always hauling freight for good carriers with good credit. Okay, all paperwork submitted to Wex Bank must include an invoice, a rate confirmation, and signed bills of lading. Those are the three things we've already talked about. We know every time that our customer, the truck driver, takes a load, he gets a rate confirmation in writing. Okay, typically it's an email, and it says what they have agreed to pay before he ever picked it up. Next, you got to have a signed bill of lading say that our customer, the truck driver, they actually delivered the freight, and there's a signed bill of lading saying that happened. And they have to produce an invoice to Wex Bank saying, this is what I need to get paid for this load. It is completed. Standard paperwork for over-the-road transportation loads. Nothing that I've mentioned here is going to be a surprise to anybody in this industry. That's very common, okay? Shippers must have at least a 550 FICO to qualify in most cases. We've got to make sure that these folks will pay the bank when an invoice is sent. Underwriting must ensure that the debitor is reviewed and approved before ensure collection of the invoice. We already talked about it, just kind of denoting a few things here. We want to make sure our client information is submitted by sales. Ensure they have active authorities. We want to make sure that our client, our truck driver client, is operating legally. That's very important. And all of our customers do, but it is a validation check that does happen. Once underwriting approves all of the information, the first schedule goes out through verification. Okay? Welcome emails are sent to our customer, and they can start factoring immediately. Okay? It's a very easy process. It's not complicated at all. It steps them through the process. It can take 24 to 48 hours to get an account set up. Moves along pretty efficiently, but puts our customer, and I'm going to use this term, in a week, it puts our customer in a positive cash situation. Okay? That's the important piece. We get them in a much better cash position. Now, if one of our customers is already factoring with another company, that's okay. That doesn't mean we lose. That just means we need to find out, well, are you in an agreement? Are you under contract? And most importantly, what are you paying for fees and rates for that factoring? Because in many cases, we're going to be able to enlighten that customer of how we might be able to save them some money and help them make more money by factoring with Wex Bank rather than a broker or with some other type of source. All right, now that our customer is fully approved, they've gone through the application process, they've turned in all their shippers, everything's approved, good to go. They're ready now to start factoring. They take their first loads, they're ready to turn things in. So Wex provides all the tools for this. They've really, really done a great job. So whether that driver uses a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, even a more traditional style computer, maybe the wife is at home doing all this for the husband or vice versa, so that documents are turned in quickly. All of it can be done digitally now. Customer-facing interfaces, end-to-end imaging, high-quality mobile scanning, which is vital. Sometimes paperwork, if it's got a poor scanning system or doesn't do high-quality imaging, you can't read everything, and you have to be able to read all the documentation that's sent over, okay? It compiles the documents, uses a system-wide integration, and a Credit Watch product that's included. We already talked about that, making sure that shippers are fully qualified so we know we're taking freight from shippers that pay their bills. So Fleet Doc Imaging Solutions come all part of this program. It's all done mobily, and whether that driver does it himself or maybe family members are doing it with them or for them, makes it so easy for them. That way they can move on to that next load and keep moving and keep their business moving forward. Okay, we're really now coming back to our customer for that value to them. So of course we've talked about that cash flow. That is just instrumental in this industry. Having cash flow available to you gives them the flexibility and the ability to be successful. Credit support, we talked about that. It gives them the ability to make sure that they're always working with good credit partners as shippers. WEX Bank takes care of all the collections for us. We love that. Okay, there's flexibility here. Of course, the fuel card program and fuel credit. I want to quickly talk about that. One of the things that they're able to do, which is really, really neat here, is that our customers can actually say where they want their portions of advance payments to go to. Some drivers may say, hey, I've got to make a major repair. I need to put $2,000 on my fuel card. They can move money from WEX Bank factoring onto their fuel card very easily. They can move that same WEX Bank factoring to their personal or business checking account, I should say, to their business checking account. They have flexibility, and because these programs work hand in glove together, it gives that customer of ours the flexibility and ability to direct the monies that they're working with into the proper bucket, if you will, to make sure it's taking advantage of whatever they need. This is going to lead us back to your key questions to your potential clients, okay? Because we always want to make sure that we're qualifying and not wasting anybody's time. We certainly don't want to waste your time or anybody else's. So I'm going to run through these and just kind of talk about each one, making sure that we're all on the same page, okay? You might ask, customer, how many trucks are you running? Do you have owner-operators that work for you, or are you just an owner-operator or have your own couple, 2, 3 trucks within your fleet? It's different for every company, okay? How are you running? Do you run under your own authority? This is a key question, meaning whoever that customer of ours is, he owns the authority and controls it. If he does not, we cannot factor because he doesn't own the authority. This is for owner-operators that own their own authority, and when they haul freight, they are the actual customer, not somebody else, okay? Are you currently factoring, and with who? We talked about that a moment ago. How much volume do you plan to factor each month? Or how much do you factor every month? And is that 100% of your billables? Some people might have a direct relationship with a local company and they bill them direct and they have payment arrangements with them. But when they have to get back or they're hauling other freight, well, they factor those. So we want to kind of ask, how much do you bill every month? How much of that is factored currently if they're working with a factor company? And is there anything that you bill direct? Okay. Because sometimes we can make it more attractive by factoring everything, make it a lot easier for them. What type of freight are you hauling? And you'll ask them, do you haul general, dry van, reefer, flatbed? These are all common terms in the industry, okay? If they are a car hauler, automobile hauler, or cattle haulers, unfortunately, we're not able to factor those loads. Those are kind of off the table, unfortunately. So just keep note, if you're working with an automotive hauler or cattle hauler, factoring does not fall in for them. And then a good question to ask is, if I could help, how soon would you like to get started with factoring? Or how soon would you like to make a change from your current factor company? These are all easy questions, common conversations, nothing difficult, I promise, okay? So simple things, program details. These are things that we'll go, well, give me some ideas. So rates starting at 1.5% flat rate. Now remember, we did talk about everybody's got to show their credit worthiness, okay? Not only our customer does have to have a credit worthiness, but so do our companies that provide us the freight. Those brokers and shippers, we have to make sure we're looking at their credit worthiness. And that's what WEX Bank does for our customer, okay? Full advance. We can provide full advance. Same-day funding with an invoice submitted before noon. Again, I'm going to preface that to say, depending on what time of day the load was delivered, how quickly the paperwork got in, I'm always going to say funding next business day. It's the way I like to say it. I don't want to mislead anybody or promise them something that, is not being delivered. But yes, same-day funding can be done depending on the time of day that everything was done. And this is denoting Central Standard Time, so depending on where that load was in the U.S., based on Central Standard Time. there's no minimum invoice fee. Okay, so maybe they did a quick hop across town for $200 versus $1,000. So it's okay. If they need money wired, okay, that's $20. That is a fee that's in there. But if it's an ACH, so they'll put it right into that checking account, well, that's free. So our customer has the ability to choose if they want the money wired. There's a fee if you have to pay wire fees. Federal wire fees do cost money. Or if it's an ACH, it's free and we don't incur any expenses. This sheet is really a takeaway for you. So as you're thinking through how to represent factoring to your customers or new customers you're meeting with, this is a bit of a cheat sheet, something you can just read through a few times, get comfortable with it. Maybe even talk with the person that referred you to this video to roll through this page right here to get further understanding and clarity and comfort to make sure that you're having good conversations, asking the right questions, okay? What would be the next step? So once you kind of identify a customer, what do? Well, Fuel Access Network has a web-to-lead system whereby you simply refer your customer to WEX Bank directly, okay? You don't have to do anything. It goes directly to WEX Bank. The relationship is truly with our customer and WEX Bank. We're not in the middle. We don't handle any of this. You as our representative, our sales associate, you're not doing any of this. It's not your job. Your goal is to identify opportunities of our customers that could benefit from factoring. And by making that referral, which we will give you the tools and the abilities to do, it's very easy. You directly refer them, and then with your customer, you have an agent number with us. We have a company number that's already pre-set up. And through the web to lead process, WEX Bank knows that that company was attributed back to Fuel Access Network. And there, in turn, we also know what agent referred that business. That is how your commissions are also tracked. So anytime factoring is done with that new customer that's now factoring with WEX Bank, you in turn can get a commission on that percentage. And commissions are very, very simple. And we've talked about them a little bit in previous videos, but it works like this. We get 5% of the bank fee, okay? So in very, very simple numbers, if the bank made in its, and remember, the bank gets, 2, 3, 4, 5%. We already know that. That's their fee for doing this. Whatever that fee dollar is, and I'm going to use round numbers. Let's just say that the bank fee for a given invoice for a week's worth of work was $100. I'm just making up a number. And let's just say it was $100 that the bank made. Well, Fuel Access Network gets 5% of that. That is what we get. Okay, so we're going to make $5. It's a small example, but you get the gist. And because you, as our agent, you already know Fuel Access Network works off the 80% rule, which means you get 80% of those commissions. So 80% of $5, that's what it is for that invoice payment. And on an average, what we see is our agents do anywhere between $50 and $90 as an average for an owner-operator factoring with WEX Bank. Now, of course, these numbers can be drilled down and moved around in a ton of different ways. And the person that referred you this video can go through the numbers even further, and we can do more and more examples to help you further understand the commission rates. But simply enough, we get 5% of whatever the bank makes because it is the bank that pays us our commissions directly from their fees, not our customers. We, like the fuel cards, never take any money from our customers. We don't accept from them because we're trying to save them money. We want them to do better, save more, and make more. That's why we take our fees directly from the bank. I hope this video has been a big help to you. I hope it's furthered your understanding of factoring, and I'm sure it's garnered a lot of questions, maybe even notes that you've taken during this brief presentation. Do me a favor. Take those questions and go back to the person that referred you to this video. Make sure you spend a little bit of time getting those questions answered so it clarifies everything in your mind. And I know all of us here at Fuel Access Network are excited to work with you, answer your questions, and help you be successful. So again, from everybody at Fuel Access Network, thank you for taking the time to hear this presentation. We're glad you're here working with us. Be kind to everybody and help yourself grow. Thank you. Have a great day.